A boy from the Dolomites Mountains, red hair, soft-spoken, no prominent Instagram profile, no name in the world of elite tennis academies. In 2018, while other young talents flocked to prestigious training centers in the US or Spain, Jannik Sinner stood under the 42-degree sun in Egypt, competing in the lowest-tier ATP Futures Tournament. No center court, no spectators, no glory. Just a 16-year-old with dusty shoes, a head racket, and eyes fixed on the rough cement court. You wouldn't have noticed him among the hundreds of young players his age. No ostentatious screams, no shirt-ripping celebrations, not even an expressive arm swing. But it was in that very stillness that a champion was forming, not by sound, but by an invisible will. 4 years later, that boy defeated Novak Djokovic, the unbeaten legend of Melbourne, right at the Australian Open. 6 months later, he lifted the US Open trophy amidst tens of thousands of American fans cheering for Taylor Fritz. And just 1 month after that, Jannik Sinner became the men's world #1 tennis player, the first Italian man in history to achieve that position. But what makes this story special is not just the ranking or the titles. It is the way Jannik silently overcame every defeat, every moment of doubt, every doping scandal not of his making, every drop of sweat behind the scenes, where there were no spectators, only the loneliness of a man pursuing greatness. He has never smashed a racket, never made an excuse, never sought the spotlight. Because what Jannik wants is not fame. What he wants is to play the most beautiful tennis he can create. And this video is about that, a glorious chapter too, but one also filled with shadows. A journey not for the faint of heart, but a clear testament that you don't have to be loud to be great. If you love true sport and want to follow the journey of champions making history in a way that is quiet but impossible to ignore, subscribe to Pro Tennis 360, where the real story is told from inside the court. From Futures Egypt to the first ATP point. In January 2018, when many 16-year-olds were preoccupied with homework and social media, Jannik Sinner placed himself in a place where no one knew him, an ATP Futures Tournament in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. The cement court was scorching, the stands were as empty as a practice facility, and the most prominent player that day wasn't him. With a small backpack, slightly oversized Nike gear, and a reserved but sharp look, Sinner registered for the first professional tournament of his life. His name made the registrar look up with suspicion. "How old are you?" 16, but I play seriously, Jannik replied. No showing off, no challenge, just a simple assertion, but one that made the person across the desk laugh, the kind of laugh from someone who had seen many dreams crushed on that court. Very quickly after, Jannik shocked everyone by defeating world number 756 Arian Goveas with a score of 6-4, 6-4. A win no one expected, but for Sinner, it was just the beginning. In the next match, he lost. A harsh defeat. No excuses. No blaming. Just a young man sitting quietly on the edge of the court, eyes staring into the distance, hand gripping his racket, and then going to watch other matches. Not for entertainment, but to learn. At an age when many are still wrestling with academic pressure, Jannik began the journey of learning how to lose professionally. No one lectured him. No one made a TikTok analyzing his technical mistakes. But Jannik learned through every point, every missed serve, every moment he was pushed back to the baseline by his opponent. And that very silence was what made Riccardo Piatti, one of Italy's most renowned coaches, take notice. Because in the world of tennis, where talent often screams for attention, Jannik stood out by working in silence. By the end of that year, he had his first ATP point, leaving Egypt not with a trophy, but with a stronger weapon, real combat experience, and a quiet determination that needed no words for proof. And the strange thing is, he still didn't think he had achieved anything major. The journey had only just begun. The silent battle at Bordighera, where true warriors are born. After his rocky first season, Jannik returned to Italy and entered a phase most tennis fans have never seen. A winter locked away in the steel forge known as the Riccardo Piatti Academy in Bordighera. No spotlight, no tournaments, no spectators, just a grueling, repetitive routine. Waking up at 5 a.m., practicing technique until noon, hitting balls until the afternoon, then analyzing video until evening. This wasn't the kind of inspiring training seen in Hollywood movies. No coaches yelling, "You can do it." No bright golden sun, no epic background music. Just Piatti, a man of few words but keen observation, standing still in the corner of the court, his eyes never leaving Jannik's every swing. "This kid is different," he often told his assistant. "He doesn't ask why he has to repeat the drill 300 times. He just does it." The entire winter passed. Sinner posted nothing on social media, no live streams, no talk about goals. But anyone who was there remembers, no one has ever been that focused. Footwork repeated hundreds of times. Serves practiced in the wind-sheltered corner, just to control the trajectory an extra 2%. All for one reason. Jannik wanted to be good enough to never be forced off the court just because he was inexperienced. And then, spring 2019, the door burst open. At the Challenger Bergamo, Jannik entered the tournament as a nobody and left as a phenomenon. He defeated older, more experienced opponents with a playing style cold as steel, thin as a razor blade. Not a single racket smash, not a single loud yell. After every point won, he only lightly clenched his fist. When asked about his feelings after his first championship, Jannik simply replied, "I knew I could. But tomorrow, it's back to practice." That was the day a champion was officially born, not by victory, but by the attitude after the victory. When the strange kid made the world stop at Milan. November 2019, the tennis world watched the next-gen ATP finals in Milan, gathering the planet's best U21 players. Most of the names already had a buzz: Alex de Minaur, Casper Ruud, Francis Tiafoe. But there was one name no one expected: Jannik Sinner, 18 years old, world number 553, entering the tournament with a wild card. And then, in just 1 week, all assumptions crumbled. Jannik successively took down every opponent with a playing style so stoic that opponents started to lose their temper. Some players admitted they couldn't read his expression, couldn't guess if he was about to attack or defend. And the scariest thing was, Jannik never panicked. When he reached the final and faced Alex de Minaur, a top 20 player, Jannik played a perfect match, 4-2, 4-1, 4-2. No heavy breathing, no grand celebration. Just a slight nod and his eyes directed toward the stands, where Piatti was quietly applauding. The international media immediately went crazy. Liquipe called him the Ice Prince of Tennis. ESPN compared Sinner to a quiet, version 2.0 Federer. But the most memorable moment came after the final. When asked, "What is your biggest feeling after the championship?" Jannik replied, "I feel normal. Because tomorrow morning I have practice." Not a word about fame. Not a sentence about his career being about to explode. Only one truth. He didn't come to Milan to be famous. He came to verify if his years of silent practice were leading him in the right direction. And when the answer was yes, he immediately went back to work. That is what made Jannik Sinner begin to become an icon, not because of his serving ability or two-handed backhand, but because of the way he saw his career as a journey, not a marketing campaign. The pandemic defeat and the shot that shook Roland Garros. Then 2020 arrived, and with it, the pandemic. Tournaments were canceled, the season was interrupted, and the tennis world fell into crisis. But while other players complained about losing form, Jannik returned to Alto Adige, his snow-covered hometown, and continued practicing as if there were no tomorrow. No one knew where he practiced or how. It was only known that when the ATP restarted, Sinner did not return as a young player, but as a warrior who had been silently upgraded. Paris, Roland Garros 2020. A brutal Grand Slam, where seeds fell in every round. Jannik reached the quarterfinals at just 19 years old, unprecedented for an Italian since the time of Nadal. But the story didn't stop there, because his next opponent was Rafael Nadal, the king of clay. The match took place at Philippe Chatrier under the sunset lights. Jannik stepped onto the court with eyes completely fearless. And in the first set, Sinner played neck and neck with Nadal, broke his serve, took the lead, silencing the entire crowd. Although he ultimately lost in 3 sets, The way he stood firm against an icon like Rafa drew the world's attention. But the thing that truly made people remember this match came afterward. In the press room, Jannik didn't try to sugarcoat his performance. He only said, "Playing Rafa, you clearly see what you are still missing." And that is the most valuable thing. Not a single tear, not a word of complaint, only the honesty rarely seen in a teenage athlete. Because for Sinner, the greatest lesson is not in victory, but in being defeated by someone better. And how you learn from it, that is what determines if you can be great. The soundless transformation. When the 19-year-old entered the domain of giants. After Roland Garros 2020, many believed Jannik Sinner was just an early bloomer, a young player having a temporary shining moment. But what they didn't anticipate was the way Sinner disappeared from the spotlight only to return with a literally stronger version. While many young athletes focused on building an image, creating social media content, and chasing brand endorsements, Jannik chose near absolute stillness. In the following months, he played less than people thought. But every time he appeared, people noticed one thing. He did not return at the old level, but at a much higher one. Early 2021, at the Miami Open, that truth was clearly exposed. From the first round to the final, Jannik played tennis so emotionless that his opponents started to lose their calm. Some players admitted they couldn't read his face, couldn't guess if he was about to attack or defend. And the scariest thing was, Jannik never panicked. When he reached the final and faced his familiar practice partner, his hand didn't shake. Although he lost at the very end, the way Jannik played made experts take notice. This was no longer the wild card boy from Milan. This was a player who understood the language of the pinnacle, even without the corresponding achievements. And then came the summer in Washington. In the heat that made many players give up, Jannik persevered until the last minute, fighting through every breathtaking match to claim the first ATP 500 title of his career. A victory that was not a breakthrough, but a confirmation. He is not the future. He is the present. What made that victory special was not the title. It was Jannik's reaction afterward. When asked how he felt about becoming the youngest Italian player in history to win an ATP 500, Jannik only smiled lightly. "I still have a lot to improve." No showing off, no complacency. Just a reminder to himself that the road to the top had only just begun. The quiet farewell that shook Italian tennis. There are moments in sports that don't come from the match, but from behind the scenes, where decisions shape an athlete's future. And for Jannik Sinner, that moment was the day he said goodbye to the coach who had been with him since the beginning, Riccardo Piatti. It was not a controversial breakup, nor the drama the press expected. It was just a short announcement, an even shorter explanation. "I need to grow up. I need a new path." But for those who understood Sinner, that sentence echoed like thunder. Because Piatti was not just a coach, he was the architect of his technical foundation, spirit, and winning habits. Many people were shocked. Some thought Jannik was reckless. Others thought he wanted to break free from a system that had brought him far, but was no longer suitable. But what no one could deny was, this was Sinner's first real moment of maturity. A decision made entirely for the profession, not for emotion. And the following season proved Sinner right. Despite injuries, despite having to withdraw from many important tournaments, despite many painful losses in crucial matches, Jannik was not defeated. On the contrary, those defeats made him more dangerous. Summer 2022, at Wimbledon and the US Open, the image of a Sinner version 2.0 emerged clearly. More stable, stronger, more confident. He pushed top players like Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic to their limits, turning the matches into high-class performances. And even though he let victories slip away right at the threshold, what people saw was not Jannik is not good enough, but Jannik is getting very close to the inevitable. That is the simple logic in sports. If you constantly get close to glory, you will eventually touch it. Fans just didn't know when that would happen. The unstoppable explosion, from pain to world peak. 2023 opened with a series of questions. Can Jannik maintain his form? Can he overcome the dominating older generation? Will the first big win come, or will he become a near-miss star? But as always, Sinner didn't answer with words. He answered with an explosive run of tournament play. At Indian Wells and Miami, Jannik not only defeated top-ranked players, but also displayed a maturity that very few young athletes achieve. Calmness in times of danger, coldness when there was an opportunity to finish, and most importantly, knowing how to completely control the match with his own rhythm. A seasoned tennis beyond his actual age. Then came Wimbledon. On the world's most difficult grass court, Sinner went deeper than ever before. He defeated tough opponents with smart, elegant play, bearing the mark of a speed artist. Although he ultimately lost to Novak Djokovic, who was almost unbeatable in London, Jannik left the court to prolonged applause. No one was disappointed, because everyone saw what Djokovic saw. He will win big matches. It's just a matter of time. And that time came faster than expected. Toronto, the first Masters 1000 title. Beijing, Sinner subdued both Alcaraz and Medvedev in the same tournament. Vienna, another victory as confirmation. ATP Finals, a perfect group stage, a historic win against Djokovic. And then Coppa Davis, where the whole of Italy witnessed Sinner do what no one had done in decades. November 2023, Jannik was no longer a phenomenon, no longer the future of Italian tennis. He became an icon of will, of persistent form, of quiet maturity. And in that very year, he entered the world's top 4, the standing of a true star, no longer having anything to prove. But Jannik didn't stop, because in his eyes, every peak is just a launch pad for the next. Glory accompanied by headwinds, the invisible hand of a crisis. March 2024, at the height of his career, a leaked information piece shocked the entire tennis world. Jannik Sinner tested positive for a banned substance. No one believed it. No previous scandals. No suspicious signs. And especially, there was no reason for a player quickly approaching World No.1 to risk it with doping. The truth was quickly exposed. A type of topical cream containing clostebol was used by the very physical therapist on his team. No gloves. No attention paid. A small scratch, a habitual action, and Jannik's career was swept into an official investigation. He remained silent. No media replies. No social media reactions. While the tennis community divided, skeptics on one side, defenders on the other, Sinner did only one thing: continue training. No exoneration campaign. No tearful apologies. Because he believed the truth would speak for itself. And it did. The International Sports Committee declared Jannik innocent. No intention, no benefit, no motive. But the psychological aftershocks were real. Jannik was forced to change his entire team structure, parting ways with a therapist who had been with him for many years. A heartbreaking but necessary decision to protect the most valuable thing: trust. And he responded in the only way he knew how: winning Miami, winning Toronto, winning Shanghai. In the same year, Sinner reclaimed the World No.1 position. Not thanks to titles, but thanks to the way he rose after the crisis. Quietly, without fanfare, but unstoppable. That was when people started calling him by a new nickname: the Quiet Storm. A storm that carries no sound, but is strong enough to change the direction of the wind. The Italian legend named Sinner, when promises are kept. A year ago at the Malaga court, where the Italian team regained the Coppa Davis after nearly half a century, Sinner leaned into Berrettini's ear and whispered, "Next year, we will do it together." At the time, no one paid attention. Matteo was recovering from an injury, and Sinner was busy with his top 5 sprint. But a promise, however small, is always serious to Jannik. Late 2024, the Italian team once again advanced deep into the Davis Cup. This time, Berrettini returned, not at peak form, but carrying an unshakable spirit. And this time, Sinner was not alone. They fought not for themselves, but for the jersey, for the belief, for the unfulfilled promise. The final match against the Netherlands. A fierce confrontation. But one by one, Jannik and Matteo overcame every opponent. Every set as tense as a drum string. And when the final point was scored, the two ran toward each other, without needing to say anything. Only a hug, enough for all of Italy to understand. This was a great moment. The entire stadium erupted. Sinner raised the cup as if lifting the very years he had silently endured, patiently learned, and trained to the point people called him a machine. But in that moment, he was no longer an image of an individual, but a collective symbol. Jannik Sinner has inspired not just Italy, but the entire sports world. That you can play clean, can keep your word, can take small steps, but still go further than everyone else. And if you want to continue following such legendary journeys, where greatness does not come from shouts, but from deep inner strength, subscribe to the Pro Tennis 360 channel. Because the real story often begins where no one is looking. No need to say anything, because everything is in the way he plays. Sinner is not the type of person you remember for viral quotes. He is not a familiar face on fashion magazine covers. He doesn't make behind-the-scenes vlogs and doesn't chase the social media money flow. But every time Sinner holds his racket, steps onto the court with his cap pulled low and his eyes fixed on the ball, the world has to pause for a few seconds. Because there lies the purest tennis you can see in this era. No tricks, no exaggeration, nothing but discipline, persistence, intelligence, and bone-chilling resilience. From Sharm el-Sheikh to World No.1. From a boy no one noticed to a person who changed an entire generation of Italian tennis. From shots that were overlooked to shots that make the entire stadium stand up. This is not just Chapter 2. This is the prelude to a new era, where Sinner is no longer chasing the legends, but is gradually becoming one himself. What do you think? Can Sinner maintain the #1 position and surpass both Djokovic and Alcaraz? Leave a comment below. And if you haven't done so, subscribe to the Pro Tennis 360 channel to not miss any subsequent historical moments.